Hey guys, it is April from Getting Huggy With It. Today is the last day of the Sweet Autumn Read series. I hope that you have enjoyed this series, so I'm going to leave you with something a little bit haunting. These are some of my favorite ghost stories and two ghost stories that I haven't read yet that sound amazing. Let's get into it. The first book I think more people need to read. There's just not a lot of talk about this book on BookTube, and I think it's one of the best classic books I've ever read, and that is Henry James' The Turn of the Screw. Now in this book, we are following a governess who comes to a home to take care of these two children, and she is very concerned that there are two menacing creatures, ghosts, on the premise of this house that might be threatening the children. They are within the house and they're on the grounds of the house, and she is incredibly petrified that they're going to put herself to harm and the children that she's caring for to harm. I loved this book. It is a novella. I think it's only, 150 pages around, and it's absolutely brilliantly written. I love a good Henry James. So that is The Turn of the Screw. Next up is another one of my favorites, The Woman in Black by Susan Hill. Now this book has been turned into a movie, and you've probably seen it with Daniel Radcliffe. But this is another novella, and if you have a chance to read it, definitely read it. The movie is great, but the book is most definitely better. This follows a man who takes care of people's affairs after they've passed away. And so a woman has passed away and he goes to her home, which is very remote. And he enters the home and is, trying to take care of this woman's affairs. And he just gets this sense that he is unwelcome at this home. There is something eerie. There is something kind of menacing about this home. And a great fog rolls in and he's stuck there for the night. And what happens is so creepy. I loved this book, and I hope you will too. The next book is coming out in September, and it's called The Unquiet Grave by Sharon McCrum. Now this is based on a true story about a murder trial that occurred in 19th century West Virginia. And it's the case of the Greenbrier ghost. So the first storyline occurs in 1897 when a woman's daughter sadly falls to her death. She had just gotten married, she falls to her death, and her mother, of course, is just completely upset. She is haunted by her daughter, and her daughter tells her, "I didn't fall by accident, it was a murder." And so she tells the prosecutor, and the prosecutor asks for an autopsy to be performed, and indeed it's found that she was indeed murdered. And then we follow the story of the defense lawyer in 1930. And this defense lawyer actually defended the man who was accused later of having killed this woman and I guess pushing her to her death. So these two storylines kind of interweave. I think it sounds absolutely fantastic. And again, that's coming out in September. Next up, I have another classic ghost story for you, and that is Hell House by Richard Matheson. Now, I fell in love with Richard Matheson when I read I Am Legend. That was just genius. So I know that this will just be another home run. And this follows Belasco House, which is kind of known to be the most notorious haunted home in the world. And every time people have gone to this home to study it, to see if there's any hauntings going on, they are met with complete disaster. And we're talking suicides, murder, you name it. It happens at Belasco House. And so we follow 4 individuals who are giving it another go, and they're going into Velasco House to study it again. And Hell House is about what happens to those 4 people. Finally, I have This House is Haunted. This is by John Boyne. This is a really fun ghost story about a governess who comes to take care of 2 children, and as soon as she steps off the train to proceed to the new home where she'll be living and taking care of these kids, she's met with thing after thing after thing that just seems to threaten her. She is being haunted right away. When she arrives at the house, she arrives to a kind of unsettling scene, which is that there are not a lot of adults around. She can't seem to find the parents of these kids, and these kids are very unwelcoming. They don't want her around, and they're quite bold as well. So she's trying to deal with the jarring nature of these children's personalities, and also the haunting that occurs to her at her new home. So those are my 5 ghost stories for you. Let me know in the comments below if you have any ghost stories that weren't mentioned here that you loved, because I love me a good ghost story. Leave that in the comments below. I hope that you have enjoyed the Sweet Autumn Read series, and I'll see you soon for another video. Okay, bye!